All right, I keep forgetting when I touch this thing, it has like a silent mute button here. Yeah, yeah, her butt is definitely the star of that video.
And Iggy Azalea. I'm assuming that's Iggy Azalea.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know what she looked like before. I still
Oh,
don't think I really know what she.
apparently
I
it's
don't know what she looks like yet. Still, I know what her butt
because
looks like.
it's. Oh my god, that video was so bad. But we should wait till the thing for that. But
Well, we're already talking. I'm just gonna jump in at some point.
oh
But
yeah,
yeah,
see, it's recording. Yeah. No,
yeah,
I was gonna say that video was so bad. Like,
it it was bad. Okay, did you watch it, Kara?
I made it about 30 seconds in and then was very aware that my son was around and turned it off.
like I kind of sneakily clicked through it at work, but it was not safe
Oh,
for.
wait, Kara. I'm gonna send you a NSFW video of a rap star, or not a rap star, a rapper. It's completely not right. It's not right, but it's his take and narration of the story of the Lion King, and that's all it's about.
Oh my
All
god.
it is about is the Lion King, and it's so not right, but it's so funny. And I was like, I have to share this with Kara.
Thank you.
I have
Thanks
to
for
share this
thinking of
with
me.
you. So
Calvin, you need to send
should
that
be
to me too.
scared,
I
huh?
need that. I need that.
You need to see it as well. Okay, all right. It's
Yes.
so
Yes, I
wrong,
need
so
that.
wrong, but oh so right. I couldn't stop laughing. And he's coming here to Detroit to the shelter, and I have to go see him. So anyway, the shelter is a concert venue here in the city.
Perfect.
So yeah, okay. So we're gonna talk about J Lo in this video, and so the question we're gonna be looking at is how should we address empowered women feeding into an exploitative culture? Because um, J Lo's been around for a long time now. I mean, obviously, I don't know exactly how Los Angeles works. I don't know how the music industry completely works, but I do know that she's in a position of power within the music industry. She's not just starting out. She's got money. She's got influence. She's got endorsements. She's got certain lines of like I think perfumes and clothing that are named after her and things like that. So she's in a position where she can make decisions for herself. And if someone pressures her in a certain way to do something, she doesn't have to do that because she is in this what I would perceive to be an elevated position of power. And so I see her as an empowered woman, but I see her with this video, uh, which I think is just called Booty, feeding into an exploitative culture where a woman is um, basically downgraded to the sum of her parts. So that's at least how I saw it, but we can get into that in a minute. And the next question that comes out of that is how can we ever hope to appropriately raise our girls and boys when their role models inhabit a professional world? Again, she's got all these things that she can do and make decisions for. Um, so that's someone who can be looked up to, but simultaneously they're doing things that feed into this culture that we want them to avoid. I don't want my son objectifying women. I don't want my daughter being objectified for her body part. So those are the questions that we're going to be exploring today. I don't expect us to solve it all, but it should be interesting. So anybody who's I think her phone's going off.
Yeah.
Her phone's going off. Can you hear that?
Nope.
All right, good. Um,
Sorry.
gosh, we got to start over, guys. We got to
From the
start
beginning,
over.
take it from the top.
All right,
No,
cut.
please don't.
So somebody give some thoughts. Let's get this party rolling.
I mean, I think the biggest controversy I could see coming out of it would be the allegation that it's not objectifying women because it's women doing it. Sort of slut walk culture. Slut walk is sort of an idea that because however promiscuously a woman is dressed, it does not excuse the men from bad behavior. That's true. And so you have some of these, some feminist forms of protest. And I'm saying this as someone who identifies as an evangelical feminist, um, and I mean it's sort of a criticism of it. Some of these protests involve really promiscuous walks, toplessness, or toplessness with tape over the nipples, in effect showing off their sexuality um, because they believe that they have the right to express themselves sexually without feeling threatened. And while I agree that there's a need to be respectful of yourself and others in terms of, I don't want to say modest, but in terms of how you reveal your beauty, I also agree that you have the right to be promiscuous, and that doesn't excuse bad behavior. My problem with the video is that I feel like it jumps into a whole nother Shark Tank. This isn't a woman who wants to feel sexually empowered who's wearing skimpy clothing or going topless at a protest. This isn't someone who's protesting victimization of women and oppression of female sexuality. This is a music video which begins and is about, with no shot really of faces, no other lyrics at all, about a butt. It's all about that butt, literally. And I feel like it's the same kind of thing as the Blurred Lines video, which the Blurred Lines music video, Blurred Lines is an extremely controversial song, and the video was literally nothing more than topless women slut-walking. It was a porn video. That's all it was. And so in our culture, we say breasts are sexual. In other cultures, they don't. So in terms of reducing a woman to the sum of her parts, it's not actually better to reduce her to her butt than it is to her boobs. And I don't see how being a woman creating media which reduces someone to a component where the song is, in terms of what it's about for the woman, just about that. Maybe you can make songs just about that. Maybe it's not objectively wrong. But in a culture where so much of what we want to do in this culture is reduce women, if you're making a song which doesn't address women as a whole and it's about their sexuality, if it's not holistically addressing their sexuality, I feel like you're automatically doing a disservice. And it's I think, should offend anyone, but especially feminists.
I mean, women are such complicated creatures, and that absolutely, I think we want to be free to express ourselves. And in that video in particular, she wants to express her sexuality, and she loves her body, and she feels no shame in shaking it all around on somebody else. And yet, you know, if she were to go out the next day and some dude came up to her and was shaking his booty all up on her, that would obviously be a problem, would be contradicting to the message he got in the song. And so, I mean, I don't know that that's surprising. I think that happens all the time, and you know, people dress the way that they dress and then are angry when some dude yells at them when they're driving by in their car, and absolutely she didn't deserve that, but at the same time you have to think about, what am I, like, everything that I do is communicating something. So what am I communicating by what I'm wearing? Do I deserve to be treated badly? No, but maybe I should show a little bit more respect to myself. I thought it was really interesting in the interview that she did, that she actually said that she didn't want to do the song. She said, I always try to run away from that. I don't talk about my butt. I don't talk about it, but everyone else is talking about it. And people were saying, you really should do this song. And so I did it, and I played it for people, and they wanted me to, everybody loved it. So I think she said it would be irresponsible for me not to put this on the album. I thought it was so interesting. It's like, did you even really want to do it? Did you feel like you were supposed to embrace that part of yourself?
And do you know what the word irresponsible means?
Right?
I don't think that
be irresponsible. No. And I think the song itself, I don't honestly have a problem with. Like, if just you're celebrating your body, fine. But the video is what took it to the level for me, because it wasn't just about celebrating that baby got back. It was about showing it from every single angle.
Well, I mean, the video I thought was kind of, I could just be me being crazy, but I thought it was kind of going out of its way to be intentionally erotic, both in terms of how it was shot and also having two women basically grinding on each other. Like, that looked a little bit like lesbian soft porn.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, that's what I thought it was. I'm going, and maybe I'm just one of those people who has a chip on his shoulder about what is art and what is not art. Because, I mean, I'll look at, like, Renaissance paintings, and I will look at, sculptures, and I'll be like, that's art. And then I'll go to this we have a major world museum here, the Detroit Institute of Arts, and I will go to different sections of that museum, and I'll look at some stuff and I'll go, this isn't art. That's a trash can surrounded by 4 ropes, and somebody called that art. I don't get it. And so I put out something on Facebook about, and I don't want to get into a huge debate about art here, but this is just giving my point of view briefly on it. I went on Facebook and I made this post about this video, and somebody commented that, well, really the video is just bad art. And I said, no, it's not art at all. So by qualifying it as bad art, you're qualifying it as art at all. But that's just me. I know people are going to disagree with me on that, and that's neither here nor there. The point of the conversation, and I guess you guys can address that if you want, but that's not where I want to get stuck. I guess for me, I look at this and I'm going, any other context, that's porn. If you saw that at a strip club, I mean, that's honestly the only other context in which I could think that somebody would see what we saw in the video is at a strip club. I'm only guessing because, you know, I'm not hanging out in strip clubs, but that's the only context I think that I would see something like that, or at the club or the strip club, and those contexts are not necessarily known for their moral fortitude. So I don't understand. It's very hard for me to sit down and watch the interview with Jennifer Lopez, who has clawed her way to where she is, to be made I don't know how she even gets to the point where she feels that it is her responsibility to release a song talking about her butt. I don't understand what the word responsible means, but I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that she doesn't know what the word responsible means. And I don't feel like she's in a place where she was forced to put out a song about her butt, especially when she's saying she felt responsible to do so. She's responsible for something, but it's not what she thinks it is. That's how I put it.
I think more than anything, first of all, the argument that that David addressed on how that some women, there's the argument that, oh, it doesn't matter how you dress, men should control themselves or they don't deserve to be treated that way. I do think that is a valid point. However, I also think that videos like this do that disservice, if that makes sense. I know women who have been raped, and unfortunately in a lot of conservative circles that's a very common thing that is thrown and brought up. If at all that person, and being conservative is kind of a subjective matter depending on the circle you're in and what that is. And so if at all somebody is, being rebellious or doing anything that we're not talking about the level that's in this video, it's still a lot of times brought up, oh, well, maybe they provoked it or whatever. And that can be a very heartbreaking viewpoint for the people that have gone through that as a victim have to deal with. I know a very good friend of mine, and she was raped, and she was accused that she had provoked it because she was in that kind of rebellious teen phase. And that was really, really hard for her to, on top of going through this awful traumatic event, to have people that she loved look at her like she somehow deserved it. And so that breaks my heart. With that being said, I also feel like videos like this are just kind of do a disservice. And what I mean by that is it gives that a voice. And I think that that's really sad because there's too many women who go through that are told that they provoked it when they weren't. And videos like this make people have that argument because videos like this are pretty much soft porn. And so, I'm not an ultra conservative, and in some circles I am, in others, depending on who you talk to. But what hurts my heart when I watch this is that she was a woman, or is a woman, I should say, of power, and she has influence. And she could choose very much to be a woman that also feels sexy and promotes that, and she does. She has in her past as well. And that's totally fine and appropriate as she sees fit. However, being in the position that she has of influence and being at the point that Calvin pointed out in her career where she's not just entering the field and she kind of can call some shots and has influence already. I mean, you could pretty much say that between J-Lo and the Kardashians that she kind of made the booty popular, I guess you could say again.
I was a fan of it long before either of those women showed up on the scene.
But I mean, in that pulp culture medium where, you know, magazine covers and whatever, now it's all about that. And I think that being in that kind of position where you're known for that particular thing, and the counterculture of that, you could argue, is the super, you know, thin model on the cover that's just...
I mean, why can't the counterculture just be being healthy?
Huh?
I said, I feel like the counterculture should just be being healthy and normal and
right,
whatever
but
you are.
Unfortunately, the negative, maybe the negative counterculture would be the Photoshop model who's, you know, significantly underweight and has no curves. So there was, you know, she kind of brought back and said, hey, yeah, I have curves and it's okay, and you can own that. And she had the opportunity to maybe come out with something that was a little more empowering and sexy. I mean, and I don't think that this attempt was that.
Yeah, she could have had it so it had a verse where it talks about all the awesome things about her, and then the chorus line could have been, and celebrating her booty. Like, you got all these great things, and you got a booty. Like, that's not a bad thing. You should be comfortable owning that if you got something attractive, it's okay to be smart and have an awesome ass. That's all right to recognize.
Exactly.
But, like, and that'd be something where I could feel like my daughter could watch it and get a sense of empowerment from that. But this is targeted, target audience-wise. I mean, I don't think you can make the argument that it may be lesbians, but generally speaking, I don't think women are the target audience for that video.
I agree.
I mean, this is going to be a club anthem. This is going to be you're at the club, the song comes on, and somebody screams out, "That's my jam," and then they're on the floor, and they're basically, okay, I'm just gonna put some stereotypes out there of what the club is like. Okay, we all know the club is like this. You'll have girls dancing with girls, and they'll all have their purses on the ground, and they'll all be dancing around their purse with their shoes off, or you'll have some dude over there, and he's grinding on a girl, and she's bent over, and I mean, it looks like a sexual lewd act is taking place on the floor. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that this song, in another context, like say, I don't know, church, is not going to be played, right? We're not going to be worshiping to this song on a Sunday morning. So, but I think I want to talk a little bit about that context.
And the Holy Spirit's got that big booty, right?
Yeah, the Holy Spirit's got that big booty. That's now officially the name of this episode. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit about something that we hit on there, though, because context is everything. Because let's be honest, I could have a girlfriend and let's say I don't have a girlfriend. I could have a wife, and there's a context where, you know, I could say certain things to her because we're in the bedroom, and we can do certain things together because we're in the bedroom, but I'm not going to do those certain things outside of the bedroom. Okay, so I mean, there's that argument that even as a married couple, you can't just go crazy, right? So some people are making the argument that there is a certain context for this music, the club, the bedroom. Okay, there are two contexts where you're doing your thing and it's just accepted, but you're not going to play this in the workplace. My issue with it is saying that, is it okay to say that those are okay in those contexts, but not okay in another context? Am I elevating this song to the level of sex? Because I mean, sex, obviously, we understand context and in context and out of context, but this song is about sex or a part of sex. So I have trouble with context and understanding, because the context also leads into certain types of shaming. Again, the whole "you shouldn't have been wearing this, you brought it on yourself." Comedian Dave Chappelle once had a part in his bit that I always thought was funny, and he said, a woman can wear a low-cut shirt and a really tiny miniskirt, and she can be, walking down the street, and then I say something to her, and then she'll say, well, just because I'm dressed this way does not make me a slut. And he said, that'd be like me putting on a police officer's uniform and you running up to me and saying, oh, thank God you're here, officer. There's a guy who's chasing us. And me saying, whoa. Just because I'm wearing this uniform does not make me a police officer. So you might not be a slut, but you're wearing a slut's uniform. And so I wonder if those were his words, not mine. But I wonder if that viewpoint comes from this inundation of sexual imagery. Now J-Lo has added herself to this. I wonder if it comes from that, or if that's actually just a legitimate argument that stands on its own. Is there something to modesty that we've lost?
I think, Calvin, you're hitting on something really profound there when you say that there's something about this video which is correlated to the idea of there being a uniform of the slut. Once you take women grinding on each other and having, I'm neither here nor there, club outfits, but if you say that if you dressed like you're going to a club, and if you're doing these things, that these are club behaviors, you're in effect doing two things. You're one saying, this is the outfit of a culture of promiscuity. There's no way to say that the club culture is not a culture of promiscuity. So if you wear that outfit, you are associating yourself with that culture. And if we want to liberate how women dress, if they really want to be empowered to dress how they want to dress without being judged, they can't marry an outfit or an action to a place where it's appropriate. It either is or it is not. The other side to that is that since they say this is sexual, when it's a culture of promiscuity, it is sexual. The music which you play at that club is an affirmation of you men, you are to voyeurize this. So if you say voyeurize the female form, the beauty, how it moves, how they talk, how they love each other, you're still voyeurizing it, but you're voyeurizing things which are more holistic. Whereas if you say, voyeurize that booty, 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 what you're doing is you're putting a stamp of approval subconsciously. You are programming people to fixate on that and to reduce to that, which is... it's a major problem in club culture. I'm going to get myself in trouble, but I think that when you try to divorce the problem of objectification of women, rape culture, and the public view which the music industry puts forward about women, specifically for club culture about women, that you're making a mistake. As I put it to my friends, porn culture and rape culture are the same thing. And the club scene, I think, is just a low-impact manifestation of that.
Now, you made an interesting statement about being able to wear whatever you wanted to wear to the club and not being judged. And I think that's interesting. I don't know. I think a lot of people do think that's what feminism is about and that's what empowerment is about, but I don't really think that it is. I mean, we're all judged. We all judge each other. We judge men and women, and we judge people of different economic classes and different races and different careers. I think feminism has a lot more to do with choices. The fact that I have the choice to vote now, and I didn't have it. Women didn't have it before the choice.
Wait, what? Wait, when did that happen?
I know, good news.
What?
You might not have heard. It's in the paper. I personally was able to vote when I was 18, but my great-grandmother, for example, was not. Or I can wear pants to work. I don't have to wear a dress. I don't.
Wait. You get to go to work? This is crazy.
Right? And so it's about these choices, and it's not that now I have to wear pants to work so I'm just like a man. It's that I can, or I can still wear dresses if I prefer those, or I can still be a stay-at-home mom, or I could be a CEO of a company. Like, feminism is about having different choices to do things. And so I think sometimes women especially kind of take that to the extreme of, I need to be as sexual as men are perceived to be. So, if, what's his face, Robin Thicke can make, a video with naked women in it, well, I'm equal to him and I can do that too. And I mean, she can. She did. She's J-Lo. She can do what she wanted to. I don't think that act in itself is the empowering act, though. I think it's the choices that she makes, and just frankly, as a role model and someone that I think is actually really seems to be a really lovely person. It's disappointing to me that she made that choice, because I actually really respected that she didn't spend a lot of time emphasizing her body. She spent a lot of time talking about being kind and having fun and putting on a good show and her music. And I just think it's kind of disappointing that she went there, especially if she supposedly went there because everyone wanted her to.
I want to say something to that. So I might have a different upbringing than some, but I was actually raised in a very, I guess you could call it anti-feminine, according to this conversation, church, household, whatever. And I was told my whole life what I could wear and what I couldn't wear, what I could do, what I couldn't do. And the whole idea was essentially based on the idea that I had to be modest so that I didn't provoke anything that wasn't. And I have to say, I feel like in that culture, not to call anybody on the carpet, but there seemed to be more leaders that struggled with those kind of, sexual sins and whatever within that than in other churches where that wasn't the case. And as somebody who's been in that culture where it was very, you've got to do this, I couldn't wear pants, I couldn't do certain things, part of that is being told that it's, what you can and can't do, and being controlled. But I think that feminism was part of that, but I also think that we've kind of lost sight of the original point of feminism. Just because somebody wears, something slightly different isn't reason for rapes and different things to happen. However, at the same time, do we go to the other extreme, and if we say that, oh, this is the dress of a slut, so therefore you're asking for that's also a slippery slope. So just calling out that fallacy a little bit. On the other hand, I think that the problem I have partly with this video is the fact that it did kind of separate the woman from her body. It looked at just a portion of her body, and it kind of, that's, I think, where the objectification came into play.
I couldn't agree more with that. That's, yes.
And I listened to a talk, it was a while ago, and a woman was talking about in society and in media publications and such, and how that they are fueling and feeding things like the sex trafficking and such, and how that the industries are all connected. And one of her strongest arguments in that speech was how that part of it is separating women from their bodies, that it's just objectifying their legs, their boobs, their butt, whatever that is, and part of that makes them, shall we say, dehuman or dehumanized. Mm-hmm. And so therefore it's no longer about this girl who has a soul or what she's doing or not doing, or and so on. It's about just this particular thing and the sex of that, or the drive of that. And I think that's where the objectification comes into play in this video, is that you don't see them, you see their butts. I actually think I would have less problem with the song than I would with the video. Like, if you just heard the song on the radio, yeah, it's objectifying, but I think the video is really what took it kind of across that line and made it just about her butt, or just about, and not her as a person. And I think that that's where part of the empowerment was lost.
So the visual changes.
Mm-hmm.
I actually agree entirely. And to drive that home, I actually found, because of that, because it didn't show their faces, I actually found the big booty video more offensive than the blurred lines video.
Right.
Now,
I still
I
don't
find
know
the
what this
blurred
Azalea, I
lines.
still don't know what this Azalea girl looks like. I know what her butt looks like, but I
Yeah,
don't know what.
exactly. The blurred lines music is abhorrent, but the video itself, at least it shows their faces. Like, and it's horrible. It's horrible to say. At least it's not this bad. It could have
Right.
been worse. And it's like if you had told me, oh, they could have made a worse music video at that time, I wouldn't have believed you. I couldn't believe what I was watching when I saw the booty thing.
I find the responses, Kara, I want to home in on something that you said. Okay, Robin Thicke puts out this video, and then so women respond, empowered women respond by saying, hey, we can put out something just as sexually charged, just as lewd, just as, probably not saying objectifying, but that's what it's doing. Anything you can do, I can do better. Okay, what you're doing is that, so we're gonna top that. And I don't think that the question is being asked, as I'm seeing the culture get more and more and more debased on things like this. I mean, you've got all the people in the feminist world talking about what it means to be an empowered woman. You've got different groups doing that, but they're talking and they're having conversations. Meanwhile, again, here I feel like I'm demonizing culture again, but you've got this pop culture machine that just keeps churning out pretty much the exact opposite message of that. And let's not pretend that we don't have empowered women in Hollywood. And I remember there was a young black female who asked of an African American businessman who worked in the music industry, why do you keep making music that's violent, that talks about guns and violence and treating women like garbage and buying cars and big houses and basically leveraging your future and spending money on things you don't have with money you don't have. And the guy very nonchalantly said, because it sells. Because it sells. So this young lady has this big moment to challenge authority and to speak truth to power, and he just says, because it sells. And so you've got empowered women who know what sells. Let's not pretend J-Lo doesn't know what sells. Mm-hmm. And so she sells what I feel, what I understand to be the future of women. I think she sells the farm for a few beans. Now those might turn into magic beans and turn into a beanstalk, and then she'll get a huge treasure out of it, but that's probably not going to be the case here, right? So, but yeah, the question's not being asked, okay, is what I'm responding to right in the first place? It's, oh, okay, you put that out there, so I'm going to put out the same thing, bigger and better. I'm going to one-up you.
Well, let's turn it around a little bit related to that. One of the things I'm thinking is I'm kind of thinking, I know what my perspective is, not caring very much about women's rights, but not being a woman, and therefore not having ever experienced firsthand that kind of objectification. I had only brothers growing up, so I only figured out that there was even this problem in America in my, honestly, early 20s. So my question would be, rather than saying what's bad about these videos, is there anything good?
J-Lo's butt.
I mean,
I'm not going to say her butt is bad. I mean, unless we're using bad like Michael Jackson bad, because her butt is bad. I'm not going to pretend that I don't like her butt, but I'm just going, what is this doing? I like big butts. I cannot lie.
I mean, let's face it. None of us are going to lie about that. We can be honest.
I can't lie about that.
But
well, is it wrong that actually, if a man had come out and produced this video, like it was a guy's song or whatever? I mean, rappers do it all the time. This is not new. Okay, let's be honest. I don't think that would be as offensive, and I think that that's actually okay. Maybe I'm a little hypocritical there, but I guess because it's that's how they're wired. Like, you're supposed to be like, oh yeah, she's hot. Like, but for a woman to go out and do that for women,
mm-hmm.
I think that's, and maybe I'm off, but that's where the problem is. If
yeah, because I think
Ludacris had pushed it,
yeah,
nobody would.
Sir Mix-a-Lot actually, I don't know what symphony he did it with. I want to say it was Seattle, and it's great. You can go watch it online, and he does this video of I like big butts and I cannot lie. and it's with like the Seattle Symphony Orchestra, and he got all these people from the crowd to get up on the stage and dance and shake their butts because it's classic, but it's talking about a butt, right? But then you still have women up there shaking their butts, which is just kind of like, he's getting away with it, and it's now part of high culture because it's the symphony, let's be honest, right? So the symphony's playing this song, and we're okay with it because a guy did it, but yeah, I've never had a podcast about a guy making a song about a butt.
Ludacris did that, like every one of his rap videos, right?
Every single one of them.
I
I mean, and they were completely.
I think he had an
explicit
album
about
just.
sex.
I think he had an album called Just Butt.
I feel like the difference there is, I mean, I could be totally wrong, and it's probably not the way it is for everyone, but I think for me, the difference is one, I actually watched this video. Typically, I don't have anything to do with R&B. But the second thing is that it's like Anakin Skywalker. You were supposed to defeat the dark side, not join it. Like, yeah, I expect rappers to do that. I have no respect for most rappers because of that. Rap music in general nauseates me. J-Lo in general does not. And then she creates something which nauseates me. And I think that, for me, it's that she knows better. And we know she knows better.
So then would the question be why it bothers us is because she sold out?
Doesn't everybody know better? Everybody knows better.
But did she sell out? Is that what it is?
I think that's
why
a
it
good
bothers us?
question. I wouldn't want to say, J-Lo, you sold out, because I don't know enough about the situation. But it sure looks like it.
Kara?
I know, I was going to say something. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was really good, I promise.
I'm sure it was. Okay, so I guess I'll jump us to the next question then. The next question that comes out of this is, you have young girls and young boys as well who we hope to raise a certain way. We want girls to know that their value is not found in their body. We don't want them to be shamed about their bodies. We want them to love their bodies, but we don't want them to find their ultimate value in one part or another. We know that that's going to be part of the culture regardless, so we're going to have to continue to fight that battle. We want our sons to grow up and have a healthy view of women. We want our sons to find someone like their mom, hopefully. In a perfect world, right? How can we hope to do that? How can we hope to do that if their role models, someone like J-Lo, who's got clout, who has money, who has influence, who has power, who has her own fashion line and perfume lines and things like this. Those are things that we would look up to anybody else in the culture, right? Like, you want to be like this successful person here. But when they turn around and they do something that you fight tooth and nail against for your sons to buy into, and what do you do when your role models are simultaneously selling you two different messages? How can we ever hope to raise our kids in the way that they should go?
I think that's another reason why. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I think I would start by, one, saying, I mean, even the best role models are going to make mistakes. I think that's just a good place to start, that if your example is a human person, that's great. I think it's nice to have somebody that you can look up to, but they're humans. They're going to make mistakes, and so I think just talking to your children about that in that moment would be really teachable. And also, I think, I mean, getting back to just the core of masculinity and femininity and what it really means, how we were created. Obviously, I believe that we were created differently. I think that we're, loved equally, and we have the ability to do the same things, but I think we're different, and I think that's really special. And I think as a woman, that to understand that there's a reason that we're found attractive to men, and there's a reason that we want men to find us attractive. I think there's something in us that wants to be seen as beautiful, and I think that's a God-given thing. I think it gets twisted by a culture, and it turns into a sexual thing that it wasn't necessarily meant to be. But I think men are meant to see their mothers and their sisters and their friends and their grandmothers and be drawn to that and think that's beautiful. But it's in a way that's very vulnerable, that's very nurturing. And I think we've kind of turned it. And I don't know if it's I wouldn't blame feminism necessarily, but maybe a misunderstanding of what it means to be equal to men. That we've turned it into something that's cold, and we've turned beauty into something that it was never meant to be. And I just think that vulnerability is just so essential to female beauty, and you don't see a lot of that. It's scary to be vulnerable, but I think of the people that I know that are the most beautiful to me, which are people like my mother and like my grandmother who passed away, they were so nurturing and so vulnerable. And I would hope, I don't have a daughter, but if I ever do, that's something I would want her to know, that those qualities are so much more beautiful.
Sort of playing.
But hold on, you do have a son though.
I do.
I have a daughter. You have a son. So, as a mother of a son, what do you hope to? And I don't want me and you to monopolize this because we're the only ones on here on this episode who are parents. But yeah, I mean, as a mother of a son, what would you hope? How would you hope to raise him to see women? Because you explained how you see your grandmother and your mother and how you look up to them, but you also touched on we're different, and I do know that little boys and little girls look at grandma and grandpa differently, and they look at mom and dad differently. So how would you hope for your son to treat and view women as he gets older at each stage, I guess?
Sure. I mean, my son's really blessed in that he has a really great dad that I hope is going to model that for him a lot. But yeah, I think it's a really similar thing. I think that men in particular, and I get a lot of this from, I'm a big fan of John and Stacey Eldridge. That's wild at heart and captivating, and men are have an the more adventurous spirit, and they're warriors and the heroes. And I think that kind of gets twisted into men being dominating to women sometimes, but it was never meant to be that way. It was definitely meant to be more of a protector. And not that women are damsels in distress, certainly, but that there's something, because if women are going to be vulnerable, then men need to be gentle and protective. And that's just, they go together. If women are vulnerable and men are domineering, it's never going to work, and women are going to be forced to kind of come up, and they play off each other. So I think the more that I encourage, myself and other women around me to embrace our femininity, and the more I encourage him to embrace his masculinity, they work together so well. And maybe it's a beautiful ideal that's going to be really hard to fight through in society now, but I'm going to try for sure.
I sort of playing off of that. I don't know how much I agree with some of the expression of gender roles in some things like Wild at Heart. I think that it's true that men and women are different. I don't think there would be quite as much sexy awesomeness if that weren't the case, and so I'm pretty happy about that. But I think that we spend a lot of time worrying about how people are going to see their own sexualities. And I think that my feeling about this video and about a lot of things in the music industry, and I'll be fast, is that I'm just not threatened by it. I'm not worried about it. The bottom line is, if I had a young friend, or if I have a niece, and if they saw a video like this and they were wondering about it, I would just explain that there is a time and a place, and it is wonderful and good to celebrate your sexuality. You should feel confident, and you should feel blessed by your sexuality. But the real reason that this video is a problem is not that it's sexual, but that it's reductionist. I point out things like it's not showing the face. There's a lot of stuff which you can analyze about how it's shooting the women, which is shots which straight up come from porn. They do. And I think that explaining that it's okay to be sexual, and then explain that this is wrong because of how it's been shot to objectify women. And you can do that without condemning Jennifer Lopez. I mean, I don't think she was probably the videographer for this. Um, I'm not threatened by it because your role model shouldn't. I mean, it's good to have celebrity role models, but that shouldn't be your only role model. And so when we got people looking to the media for leadership, God knows there are so many ways I respect and admire my favorite musician, Trent Reznor, but I sure don't want to be like him, and I sure don't think he's perfect. And similarly, if my kids start listening to some of the music I listen to, I won't be disturbed by it at all. But I think that that there's some good conversations to be had about it.
I think when I think about my daughter, she was on the bus last school year, or maybe year before last. It all starts to run together when you when your kid's getting older. It all gets away from you. But her stepdad called and told me, hey, she's having some trouble on the bus. Some kids are making fun of her. My daughter's biracial, and so she's got this what I think is beautiful hair, and she's going to have that hair that when she's an adult, many women are going to ask her questions about it and say that it's so beautiful and all those different things, and it is. But she's a kid, and kids, she's raised in a predominantly white area, and the standard of beauty is straight blonde hair. Generally, that's the standard of beauty that you see sold to us in the media. I mean, even from your shampoo commercials, I have never once seen a shampoo commercial with a black woman in it, ever. And if I have, she didn't have normal black people hair, right? And so part of that is connected to the sexuality. Okay, the sexuality, if you bring it down to just a woman's hair, focusing on a woman's hair, focusing on her legs, focusing on her butt, focusing on her boobs. People have different things that they focus on or fetishize. I believe David, you and I had a conversation about that offline a few days ago. But it's not the standard of beauty. My niece, who is, she's not biracial, she's fully black. She came home from school one day. Nobody had said anything mean to her at all. And she just said, my hair's not pretty. My hair's not beautiful. And it was connected to this, again, standard of beauty. She's not the only black student in her school, but her hair is not like the predominant hairstyle there. And I didn't sit her down and ask, how many shampoo commercials have you been watching? How many television shows have you been watching where the standard of beauty has been white women? I mean, she's 10. I'm not going to have that conversation with her. But I know what it's attached to. Again, everything's connected. And so I think as a parent, as an uncle, it's really, really hard for me to have them come home being made fun of or questioning their own beauty because of what pop culture is putting out there, and then looking at someone who has this power, who has this wherewithal to do something different, and does this instead. It really bothers me. And so I guess, David, I really like what you said there, and I was thinking that as well. Like, am I putting too much pressure on celebrities to be role models? I should be a role model. I should be telling my daughter every day, I love you. You're beautiful. Like, well, what is it from The Help? You is good. You is kind. That line. And so,
Such a good line.
Yeah, I feel like I'm rambling here, but maybe it is my job to be the role model, or not maybe. It is my job to be the role model. It is my ex-wife's job to be a role model. It is the job of people who I allow to be in my daughter's life and my niece's life to be a role model. So obviously my mom, my dad, her grandparents on her mother's side, her stepfather, me, anybody that I end up dating in the future, and if I get married again, that person as well. And so all of us should be role models, teachers, coaches. She's on a soccer team. All these people should be role models. I just sometimes feel like the job is so big and so daunting, and the message keeps coming out because people buy it. Mm-hmm. And so I have to fight that much harder because it sells.
just as I don't have kids, but as a woman growing up, and I'm sure you could probably relate to this as well.
I totally can.
Not you. I meant her. I mean, I remember even being young and hearing and seeing the average message out there in the media, and honestly, most people don't even add up to, no matter race, hair color, anything. I remember always wanting straight hair because my hair was curly, and then all my friends loved my hair. It was just, there's things like that you learn as you get older. But I think every girl, every guy, they go through those points, and they have to learn to accept those things in themselves. And I think that that's part of where society has changed. And I think part of it is that going back, feminism started as a very good thing, but I think it's taken a different shift. It used to be, hey, I wanted a voice, I wanted to vote, I want to be able to take a job and get decent pay, those kind of things, and those are good. Those outcomes are good. However, it's almost gone to this other extreme that we have to be a man in a man's world. I don't want to be a man in a man's world. I want to be a woman in this world. And we've kind of lost sight. I agree with you, what your points were earlier, that, Kara, that we've lost sight of what it is to be feminine. And I think that part of what can help our next generation is to remind the sons and daughters of what that is and what that looks like and how that's beautiful. And I think that there's a strength in it that we've forgotten and that we've stopped teaching at large, at least in society, that you can be strong and you can be gentle. They're not two different things, that you can be feminine and you can be who you are, and you don't have to be this other thing. And if you want to be strong and you want to go do construction or whatever, that's available to you. You're right, it is a choice, and that's where feminism did succeed. But you don't have to not be you, and you don't have to not be girly, and you don't have to, in order to be girly, be slutty. And there's a difference in those, and I think we need to get back to the basics of teaching that.
I just wanted to say I really agree with that. Speaking as someone who, like I said, I identify as much as a man can as a Christian feminist, it is not to say that women should be more masculine in a man's world. I think you guys are 100% right. Discovering one's femininity, not how to say as a man discovering that, but for women to do that, it's not to have them be empowered in a man's world. So the world should be for both people. They should be empowered in the world as women.
I agree.
All right, cool. So we're going to be done with this one, and we're going to do the next one and try to build that out in about 45 minutes. So I'm going to hang up. Let's give us all about 5 minutes rest, and then we'll dial back in, okay?
All right.
All right.
See you guys.
See ya.